Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitchside podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Welcome back to the channel. In episode 39, follow us on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, Pitchside on Instagram. Like, share, comment on this video, of course, and subscribe to the channel. Plus, listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you can get it from, or catch it later at www.webreadsports.com. The platforms are vast and different. You can listen to it anywhere. There's a lot, of course, happened on Wednesday. We're going to get to it really. And our start, of course, will be from the Italian Serie A at around 16 of matches. That, of course, took place yesterday. It was another stacked Wednesday in the Serie A with 10 matches taking place on one day. Of course, again, a quick rundown of what happened yesterday before we talk about the biggest points from that round. Cagliari, of course, lost to Benevento 2-1. Torino drawn with Verona 1-1. Sassuolo defeated Genoa 2-1. Sampdoria defeated Inter 2-1. Lazio managed a hard win against Fiorentina 2-1. Crotone lost to Roma 3-1. Bologna drawn against Udinese 2-2. Atalanta managed to defeat Parma 3-0. Napoli lost against Spezia 2-1. And of course, Milan lost to Juventus 3-1. So we're going to start, of course, with the loss from Inter Sampdoria. That is, I think, the first headline that comes to mind when you talk about the Serie A rounds yesterday, chronologically speaking, at least, before we get to the Milan-Juventus game. Inter Milan in this one, of course, this is an 8-match undefeated streak in the Serie A, beaten and snapped at the hands of Sampdoria. Not just the Sampdoria, but former Inter Milan boys in Antonio Candreva and Keita Balde. Inter Milan started without Eriksen. They chose again to sit him on the bench for Gagliardini, so it looks like probably he should be leaving. He has no future whatsoever left now at Inter Milan, and it does look very likely that the guy's money is over, and the guy's time at Giuseppe Meazza is going to be coming to an end either in January or at the very, very best this summer. I don't see him past this summer in Inter Milan, really. They're going to try and load him out in any way. Inter Milan didn't exactly have the worst game possible, really. If you look at it, they were, more possession, they had more shots, they had more domination, goals, shots on target, what have you. But Sampdoria were aggressive, they were compact enough. Of course, you can see it even in their lineup. They play with a 4-4-2 straight away, starting with Keita Balde up front, with Candreva playing as a right midfielder. Inter now losing ground, of course, on their top rivals and the local rivals in AC Milan. Or we thought so, at least, before that game happened. Of course, you can check my recap for and my reaction to that Inter loss yesterday in the channel. So everybody thought that, okay, Inter now lost ground on AC Milan. This is going to give AC Milan the chance to escape a bit and go ahead with 4 points up the table, but that didn't happen, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. Atalanta, continuing their winning ways, continuing to be impressive again after defeating Sassuolo 5-1. They come back and thrash Parma 3-0. Quite a quick job from them. Muriel and Zapata and Gosens coming up with the goals for Atalanta. Big win for Gasperini. Again, no Gomez, and it looks like another player is going to believe it. Again, for some reason, I'm having this wild theory that Gomez is going to go to Inter and Eriksen is going to come to Atalanta. Why? I don't know, but it looks like something could fit. Really, Eriksen would fit amazingly into that Atalanta side. It's a hard-working side, an offensive side for a change. And he's not going to be sitting a lot on the bench. Probably Gasperini is going to have to drop Pessina or something. I'm building a theory on something that probably doesn't exist, but I like to do that, and I think it's pretty logic to build this kind of a fan theory. Napoli losing to Spezia, to a 10-man Spezia nonetheless. The fact that Spezia added the second goal after the red card is even more impressive. Like, the loss at home at San Paolo for Napoli is already, or now at the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, that is now, The loss in itself at home is disappointing, but the fact that they lost the second goal and they conceded the second goal after the red card for Spezia is really weird, considering the fact that Napoli were the best. Like, obviously, they would be dominating against a side like Spezia in the bottom half of the table. But when you lose 2 goals in that way, and you could not score, you could not really justify yourself by saying, oh, but they dominated the game and I had more possession and I had more shots and what have you. For Gennaro Gattuso's side, it's build and rebuild again. The match against Juve, of course, the match in hand against Juve is still to be played, so there's a lot of sort of mathematical operations going on for Napoli in terms of the table and where they're going to be ending up. But again, that game isn't exactly a guaranteed thing to, that you're going to be winning against Juve. Nothing is guaranteed now, and what we will see later on, that you cannot write off Juve from anything. Lazio with a good win, a good but a hard win, a couple of bad results as of late for Simone Inzaghi's boys, but I think this is a good result to boost them really for Fiorentina. It is a surprisingly bad result, I would say. After winning Juventus 3-0, we all thought, well, Fiorentina are going to be having a decent season now, aren't they? We thought they're going to be, fine in doing so, but that win against Fiorentina proved to be an anomaly rather to be a kickoff or a sort of a kickstart for anything for Fiorentina this season. Their position on the table is pretty rough at the moment. They stand at 14th with 15 points, and they're not away from the relegation battle, so they could really use with some 3 points in the next couple of games. For Lazio, it's a good win, and 8th place I don't think at the moment is where they want to be suited. It's not their best place possible. They would want to go high, of course, up the table, and these kind of wins, of course, of the couple of results that they had themselves as of late, I don't think exactly it is the worst thing in the world. They had, some seriously up and down campaign going on for them this season. Roma continue their winning ways, 3-1 away to Crotone. Mkhitaryan is the star of the show once more, as well as Borja Mayoral, an assist and a goal for Mkhitaryan. Borja Mayoral with 2 goals. And, watch out from Roma. That's what I'm going to say. Watch out from Roma this season. They're really doing a really decent job. The 3-4-2-1 seems to be a working formation for them at the moment. With Mkhitaryan and Lucas and Carlos Perez. Carlos Perez, of course, formerly of Alaves. Being really important player for them. Mayoral, one of the Real Madrid / Levante rejects / Laliga rejects, and he's doing really well at the moment in the Serie A. The guy has already now 6 goals and 2 assists in the Serie A season, and he's doing really well. Like, he started only 9 games from 16 for him this season, and he came off the bench in the rest of them. No yellow cards, no red cards, 2 assists and 6 goals, and he's doing fine really for what it was. Like, from 9 starts, he's got 6 goals, and this is his first race, of course, of the season. It looks like he can be a good option up front for Roma, of course, and the absence of someone like Njeko. You probably think, well, yeah. He could be a good option to use for Roma. Sassuolo winning against Genoa again. They're really doing good this season. Hopefully they continue on their winning ways after the drubbing they got against Atalanta. They're going to be returning to a good form, to what seems like a good form, of course, for Sassuolo. They continue to be close to the top 4, 5th at 29 points, and that is going to be really good. They're 1 point behind Juve. Speaking of Juve and the AC Milan versus Juventus game, of course, you can check the recap of that game that I did just yesterday here on the channel as well. And this was, it was an entertaining game. First of all, let's just take this out of the way. It was an entertaining game. It was a big game. It was a big clash in Serie A, as you expect. AC Milan and Juventus put it all on the line, I would say. They really had a great game of football. We saw some entertaining stuff from both sides, and everyone is happy. Everyone is happy watching that game. But certainly, AC Milan fans are not going to be happy. And AC Milan lost not in any way fault of theirs, because they did, of course, the best they could with all the injuries and the COVID cases that they had. They missed around 6 to 7 players, first teamers, missing the likes of Gabi and Ibrahimovic and Rebic and Bennacer and Tonali for the suspension, and Krunic and Rebic again for the COVID cases. Ibrahimovic, he looked to be fine because he was back on training with the side, but Pioli apparently didn't want to risk putting him on the squad, so he decided to rest him. He didn't want to do what he did with Bennacer back a while ago when he was injured, and he rested him in the side, and it almost ended up in a bad situation for him. It was, again, no fault of theirs, really, for two reasons. First of all, the injuries and the absences, shackled Pioli in terms of the game plan and the game style. He had to move Calabria right back into the midfield, and he had quite the rough time with that, really. Again, I mentioned it in the review. It wasn't exactly the most comfortable of positions that Calabria can play in. Also, Theo Hernandez didn't have the best of games. I really think that the absence of those guys in the midfield affected really the work rate in that midfield. And I'm not saying that Calabria didn't work enough, but I think not the same quality as Bennacer and Tonali. And that Juventus have a lot of quality midfield players in Rabiot, Bentancur, not necessarily defensively, but I think not necessarily offensively, but I think defensively he's good, he's fine. Rabiot on the ball is something else, really. He's incredible, and him starting consistently for France is what is justified when you watch him play on the pitch. Completely outdone, I think, in the second half were AC Milan. Pirlo managed his game really well. I mentioned it in the review, this is probably the best game tactically for Pirlo this whole season. And, when a side is missing 7 players from first team for different reasons, it's easier to manage your game. And, the substitutions that Pirlo made were clearly something well planned out even before the game, knowing that AC Milan, of course, have those injury twists. McKennie came in, Arthur came in, Kulusevski came in, and all had an impact really on this game. Arthur, of course, for more control and more, poise inside that midfield, as Bentancur was nearly sent off in the game. Kulusevski for more, presence up top, really, because more stronger presence to sort of a bully the defenders as well. And Weston McKennie, of course, who can add all the energy, all the stamina in the world. I like him, really. He's proper box to box. I mentioned it. He's the kind of box to box you'd dream of having in your team. He has options. He has a defensive work rate. He adds an incredible level of energy and stamina again to your side. Juve managed the game really well. AC Milan, again, the injuries and the absences just ravaged them. They couldn't do more than what they did yesterday with the side that they have, because had they had Rebic and Ibrahimovic and Bennacer and Tonali and all of these players available, I would say the game would be different, first of all, and probably AC Milan would be different as well for it, because that lack of midfield presence gave Juventus a clear-cut advantage right before the game. The goals, of course, were, I think, a direct result of the absence of such presence in the midfield. The third goal, was AC Milan basically getting caught on the counter, putting bodies up front, putting themselves too high for pressure, and leaving themselves wide open for Juventus to pounce. And they did pounce, and they did not miss. They pounced. It was 3-1 It ended at the San Siro. An important victory for Juve, a momentum booster. It gives them a really. I mean, they wanted to be fair. Even if they had a draw again, they would be fine. But the victory is going to be boosting their momentum a lot heading into the rest of the season. A game in hand against Napoli is still them to win. Theirs to win, and if they do win, they will be potentially 4 points behind AC Milan. Nobody knows what is going to be happening in the next fixture, of course, and for AC Milan, I think it's just reset and go again. Hopefully, get some of the players back in the next round of fixtures, which starts on Saturday. It kicked off with Benevento versus Atalanta, Genoa hosting Bologna. That's on Saturday. Milan as well hosting Torino. All these games are on Saturday. On Sunday, it is a big kickoff in Italy. Roma hosting Inter Milan, Verona hosting Crotone, Udinese hosting Napoli, Parma hosting Lazio, Fiorentina hosting Cagliari, and a game that I'm personally interested in watching, really, Juventus versus Sassuolo. Sampdoria, of course, travel to face Spezia. This is the Monday fixture late on in the Serie A. Quickly, a reminder of the table, of course. Milan with 37 points, 36 for Internazionale, 33 with Roma, 30 for Juventus, 29 for Sassuolo at 5th, 28 for Napoli. Of course, the asterisk is that they have a game in hand against Juventus. Atalanta 28 as well, they have a game in hand if they didn't play. Lazio with 25, 26, 24 for Hellas Verona, 21 for Benevento. The surprise of the season, really, in my opinion, Benevento being at 10th so far. 20 for Sampdoria, 17 for Bologna, 16 for Udinese, 15 for Fiorentina, Cagliari 14 points as well as Spezia, Torino 12 points, but for Parma as well 12 points, 11 for Genoa and 9 for Crotone. Moving on, there wasn't only big action, of course, in Italy, there was only big action in England as well, and it was the second semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and it was a Manchester derby at the Old Trafford between United and City, and it was City who got the win and who got the place to the final to face at Tottenham Hotspur on April 25th. This was a game where it could have gone either way in the first half. The first half, I think, was pretty poised, pretty decent, considering everything. Of course, 2 minutes in, Rashford has a goal disallowed for offside. Disallowed goals as well for Manchester City. Gundogan had a goal disallowed for offside in the 5th minute. It was a fast and frantic game in the first half. Really, De Bruyne hit the post at 13 minutes. Again, another goal was disallowed for Manchester City in 24th minute for Foden. Bruno Fernandes had a big chance early on, but it was saved by Stefan. It was really a poised and well-balanced game in the first half. Man City didn't exactly have the best of possession, didn't exactly have the strongest, time. Yeah, I mean, again, I mentioned it already in the preview yesterday. I said that City are going to be probably looking to be more poised and conservative than usual, and they did. And they didn't play with forward at the back. They started actually. They played with Cancelo, Zinchenko, Stones, and Ruben Dias. The partnership is just doing so well at the moment, adding so much solidity to that defense. Of course, Fernandinho and Gundogan, with Gundogan, of course, finally being allowed to do the proper things that he does as a box-to-box, which is linking up and going forward. He is one of the best players at the moment for Manchester City. His link-up play is so terrific at the moment. He's so slick in his movement and his play, for all the criticism that sometimes he received for not playing in the right position or doing the right things on the pitch. The second half, I think it was a different ball game. Man City really, bossed the second half more or less, and they had more attempts and shots on target. Scoring early helps, really, and I'm gonna really take a pause in that first goal, because both goals actually deserve a pause, if I'm being honest. But the first goal in particular, it was another piece of shambolic defending from Maguire, and shambolic defending probably doesn't really do the goal justice, because you look at the goal and check the goal again, and Maguire was doing his best I'm looking at the ball kind of thing, his best sort of Elmo looking at the nuclear bomb meme kind of look, where he just sees the ball passing away and just doesn't react. And just doesn't react. Like, he did it too many times this season alone. Like, he did it too many times this season alone. Of course, he did it famously, I would say, in the semi-final of the Europa League. He did it here. He did it, I think, in against Tottenham, that 6-1 smashing in a couple of situations. Every time I watch that goal, and by the way, for those who don't know, I'm watching it right now. Like, I'm really trying to make sense of what happened in that goal and why is Maguire defending like that. Set-piece defending for United is quite the problem, and it's quite the problem because you have centre halves that cannot defend it. Harry Maguire and man marking aren't exactly two things that can go, together. You can say the same about Lindelof. You can say the same about Aaron Wan-Bissaka. You can say the same about Luke Shaw. You can even say the same about the midfielders of United. Like, really, set-piece defending for United is a problem. And when you hit once on a set-piece, okay, fine, probably it's understandable, it could happen. But when you hit twice on a set-piece, the second goal as well was a set-piece, and it was a bad defending from United. Aaron Wan-Bissaka basically gave an assist to Fernandinho on that header. You don't head the ball back centrally on a set piece. These are basics of football. I'm not going to teach a United player how to head the ball away from the net. But unfortunately, it looks like I will do, because Aaron Wan-Bissaka heads the ball centrally, and Fernandinho, without missing a beat, just hooves it away and just smashes one, and it goes into the bottom corner. 2-0 Manchester City. That is your job. Game done. Game, set and match at 82nd minute. No chance whatsoever for United to return. And they didn't give the best second half to show for it, to show that they can return or they have any kind of justification for returning in the game. And that's it. Man United were shambolic in the second half. Man City were realistic again. Guardiola once again putting a masterclass of tactics, not throwing himself too much up front, not throwing his side too much up front, getting the best, getting the job done, getting what he needs to do out of the game, and going out. Simple. That is now Man City's motto this season. It might not be as slick or as smooth of a game or a performance as the one against Chelsea on the weekend, but it doesn't need to be when it's a semi-final of a cup. It doesn't need to be. They go to face Tottenham now, which is definitely a much harder game than United at the moment, as it looks. We don't know what are going to be the changes, what is going to change between now and April the 25th, when the game takes place at the Wembley Stadium. Hopefully, big win for City. They go and face Tottenham. And again, realistic Guardiola strikes. He's showing a real change in tactics, and it's given him the results that he needs with the clean sheets as well. And there's a whole lot of things going good for him at the moment. The Spanish genius. It's incredible. It's incredible. You all have to do is just take your hats off and give a round of applause for Manchester City. Let's move on. And we're going to continue, or actually finish, the big games sort of column, talking about La Liga. And there wasn't action only in the Copa del Rey in Spain. By the way, shout out to Cornella, if we're going to be proper Spanish here, who eliminated Atletico Madrid from that competition in the first round. A team that plays in Segunda División Group C, which is basically, I think, a third or fourth division in Spain, and eliminated Atletico Madrid from said competition. Atletico Madrid, who played with the first team, I think, mostly. I mean, I saw Joao Felix being there. I saw Joao Felix being there. There was, Correa. I mean, there was a bunch of first teamers in the game. It wasn't exactly playing with the second team and giving themselves the excuses, really. So shout out to them. Cornea, you made a big achievement. Beating a team like Atletico Madrid, a team that everybody's looking at like the favourites to win La Liga title, is quite a big achievement. Shout out to them, of course. Moving on to La Liga properly now, and Barcelona had a game in hand against Athletic Bilbao, a rescheduled game from round 2 in La Liga. The score is 2-3, alright, 3-2 for Barcelona. It looks tight, and it might suggest that the game was a little bit tense, but let's put it like this. It was tense in the first 7 minutes and in the last 7 minutes. Barcelona made it tough in those particular, periods of the game. But what's in between was, I think, pretty good and pretty decent from Barcelona. Something we didn't see a lot from Barcelona was being actually, really decent and being, really, slick and smooth, so to speak. A little bit more than usual. Pedri, I think, was the star of the show alongside Messi. The link-up plays really, really well. It looks like Pedri is going to be not a future Messi, because that word puts a lot of pressure on the player, but I guess the future star of the club. At the moment, it looks like Pedri is about the only one who could add an option, could add a different option, or could link up really smoothly with Lionel Messi without actually thinking, oh, I'm playing with Lionel Messi, so I need to pass the ball always to him. Pedri actually has the initiative, the initiative sort of mindset in him to link up with Messi, and that is good. And that Barcelona needs that, because for years now on end, Barcelona played with the motto, oh, just pass to Messi and he's gonna, carry us in. The start of the game was pretty shaky. Defensive mistakes from Barcelona, getting caught on the counter for the first goal. The last 7 minutes as well were pretty shaky, and the giveaway from Messi, of all people, giving away the ball cheaply like that. It's not a good look for Messi. 3-2 at the 90th minute. It almost was a little bit rough, considering that there were 4 minutes of stoppage time at that game, so it could have gone worse really for Barcelona. They could have lost 2 points there, but they didn't. And they won. And again, the scoreline might suggest that the game was pretty tight and close, and that Athletic Bilbao had loads of chances, or they were going head to head with Barcelona. It wasn't really. The first half in particular was all about Barcelona dominating, all about Barcelona playing the slickest football you can see from Barcelona. And after scoring twice, and after equalising, the equaliser, first of all, was brilliant. The way that Frenkie de Jong just saved it from going out and straight away send it to Pedri. I know players that would fluff the lines, they would not even know what to do in that situation, and not even touch it. But Frenkie de Jong just, send it back to Pedri, and a brilliant header, brilliant sort of just waiting on the ball to hit him in the head and going to just direct it into the net. The second goal, of course, is a different story. A brilliant touch from Pedri, setting up Lionel Messi, who just, bends it around Unai Simon. I don't want to say, passes the ball, bends a pass or something like that. Anyway, something, very, very special from the Argentine genius. Again, an important victory for Barcelona, and this is the kind of victories and the performance, I would say, probably bar the first 10 and the last 10 minutes perhaps. This is the kind of performance that Barcelona would want and the fans would want from their team to see for the rest of the season, if they want to return to competing for the title, to get closer to the top two in Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. 31 points now on the table, they have a game at hand as well. And everything looks, not everything, but most things look fine for Koeman at the moment. They don't have a number 9, which is something he complained about a lot. And we're going to see how they're going to be handling the rest of the business this season, and the business end in the Champions League, of course, as they face PSG and Pochettino. And with that, of course, we come to an end to the episode. Thank you for listening / watching. Like, share, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, enable notifications to receive all the updates. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're not, Site PSP, you'll find me there on Twitter, Pitch St. Paul, on Instagram, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform to catch this episode, or later on at www.webreadsports.com. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and until the next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.